on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, on a Thursday. We're going to be going live. I don't think I did a live yesterday, but we are back today. I'm going to go ahead and set up a couple stuff in the chat. I flipped all comments on, so feel free when you drop in, come say hi. And yeah, I'm excited to hang out, have some conversations. All right. Let's go. And yeah, so good to see you. My name is Nathan. I go by Duck Online. And I'm going to give a kind of a rundown of some of this. We've had a really wild week in politics so far, and even just today. So the most latest breaking news is Ilhan Omar. So she is a Congress member in Minnesota. She's been outspoken. She does represent maybe underrepresented voices in the United States. She's been outspoken against the Trump administration, which I don't think she's gone too far. And she was assaulted at a town hall. And so we don't know. We don't know if what happened. I hate to say we don't know if she's going to be okay, but she was sprayed with some sort of substance. So assuming it is some chemical, even if it was water. But we don't know what she was sprayed with yet. We just have video of the assault. And so we are all hoping Representative Ilhan Omar is going to be okay. And yeah, this is not about making this political. This is not about politics at all. However, from my perspective, when you see that Minnesota representatives basically endorsing and sort of drawing the line that civil disobedience is not an insurrection, civil disobedience and even just peaceful assemblies are not criminal. And then they're characterized as terrorists, as instigators, terrorists, basically implying that these are somehow extrajudicial actors trying to inspire violence against the Trump administration. It's very difficult to not draw a straight line. And so it's very much so, it's time for Donald Trump to resign. It is time for JD Vance to resign. That's my next big sort of debate discussion topic. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. Sorry. I just wanted to get beautified, get a little more comfortable with my hat. But yeah. And so I do think it's time that we call on Donald Trump and JD Vance to resign, to leave office. And Ilhan Omar, her assault tonight is just the next thing, right? And this is not about political violence against the left or the right. It is not about what group or who you think you are a part of. This is purely about political violence without sort of personifying who it's against. And so I don't care if you don't like Dearborn, Michigan. I don't care if you don't like Ilhan Omar. I don't care if you don't like Minnesota. I don't care if you don't like migrants. It is never okay to see assault against civil servants, against elected officials. And it's never okay and you shouldn't be okay if you're seeing Trump and Vance posture against these people, they kind of line up on them. They're getting in this position where if anything goes wrong, you have someone to blame. And if nothing goes wrong, you still have people who are saying, well, it's kind of okay to speak violently about these people. Well, you have to take a step back. Hey, thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Stephen and Dermilde Wessie. Sorry. Guys, I look a mess today. That's what the kind of day we've had. You guys can see in the pinned message. That message should be pinned, but we've had a lot of news. Hey, Maud, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, and so the Ilhan Omar assault video is just the latest of unfortunate things. And like I said, I might have said it in the title, just another day. It's just another day in the Trump administration. When you have a president who, before he's even in office, tells you as an American, he says, it's okay. We might go to war. We might do all these things. And by that, I mean that we're going to have tens of thousands of boats, tens of thousands of military personnel, munitions, whatever. It doesn't matter that much. But this president comes out and says we can threaten people, we can bully people, we can throw our power around. Duke, hey Marilyn, good to see you. I was over at MDD before I went live, so I was wondering if I'd bump into you there. But it's good to see you. I got my Tuesday uglies on, folks. Come say hi in chat if you guys want. Hit the like, subscribe, and yeah. And so this is the big news of the day. Is I think the centerpiece story, I think, is seeing someone like Ilhan Omar, who's been in the news for a lot of reasons, having some sort of chemical thrown on her, knowing that irrespective of what it was, and hopefully she's okay, it could have been acid, it could have been some other chemical agent that's deleterious. Who knows? It could have been bacon grease. And that's also scary. If you're raising a family, if you have a Muslim family, if you have Muslims in your family, if you subscribe to Islam, and you see this attack on someone, which very much, who knows? It's not unreasonable to think right away this could be religious in nature. This could be some form of discrimination. I would be outraged. I am outraged. I'm not even, and we'll get to some stuff that happened in my home state. My state, guys, I'm gonna rep a little bit. But just as from the onset, imagining that discussing things with violence, and talking about otherizing people, talking about policies that specifically target a group of people. And even when a lot of people seem to disagree, your neighbors, your fellow citizens, business owners, politicians, doctors, lawyers, you have Republicans dropping out like wildfire. We're going to talk about that tonight too. So hit the like. If you want, grab a cup of water or tea, coffee, whatever. I'm going to be hanging out for a little bit here. And yeah, Scott, that's what I want to do. I want to ask Donald Trump and JD Vance, both of you, you can quit now. You can quit. I'll tell you why. You can both resign. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the 1 year in office. And I will sit here for the next 3 years and happily ensure you get nothing out of your presidency. JD Vance, I will ensure you have zero hope of winning. And if you do win, I will also ensure you get nothing out of your presidency because you have both endorsed violence. So we're going to objectively wrap this man up. We're going to objectively wrap this man up and make sure they don't get anything, And so, yeah, Ilhan Omar story. I will hopefully, if I get some, me and my infinite importance, if I get some update that she's while we're live, that she's okay, that they checked it out. Hopefully the substance was just water or something else. I'll let you guys know. So the other big story is Greg Bavino, and hey, good to see you, Shadowband. Greg Bavino is getting fired. I think this is where he's getting sent back to his sort of home posting in El Centro in California. So Bovino's out of Minneapolis, right? That's the punchline. It doesn't matter where he is. Nobody wants to dox Bovino. You probably shouldn't need to know the name Greg Bavino. He was on national news, so everyone does know Greg Bavino, but he is the least important person in the world, and he completely demonstrated why that is. And so Greg Bavino was leading immigration efforts, and he was one of the people who came out leading allegations and charges that there are violent terrorists amongst Minnesota protesters, which doesn't make sense. There's been resistance in all 50 states. Minnesota is no different. There's been people who just don't have said, I'm okay to go to jail. You can arrest me, take me to the judge in the morning. It's happened a lot. And Bovino, from his position in law enforcement, he didn't tell us, I hate this stuff, guys. He didn't tell us, what ICE is actually doing, what Border Patrol is actually doing, what Homeland Security is actually doing, in order to make sure that Now that ICE has actually reached that sort of point where they're meeting civil disobedience, how do you know that there's not going to be illegal harm that comes of citizens? How do you know that the original mandate still makes sense, or what is the plan going forward? How are you going to work with both local politicians and law enforcement agencies to make sure no one gets hurt? And instead of doing this, Bovino basically said these are terrorists, all kinds of horrible stuff. Hey, what's up, Jacob O'Hara? Good to see you. America's fascist from the UK. Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, Donald Trump, a lot of people don't know this. My perspective, Donald Trump got elected. The very next day, he started threatening people. The very next day, he postured. And so both are bad, right? You shouldn't be saying, well, Kamala is a gay witch. You shouldn't be saying, Ilhan Omar, made love to her brother and is a terrorist, grifter, thief, or something. Now she's gotten assaulted. So you see how that turns out. You have multiple dead people in Minnesota. In Arizona just today, there was a Border Patrol related shooting on our southern border. And so there was a press conference held. I'm not sure the details. They're trying to keep it fairly small, trying to say that this is maybe just the border as usual. But who actually knows? I don't trust that. I don't believe it. And so as for a fascist in Donald Trump, he's currently holding a head of state hostage. He has the Venezuelan president, who Nicolas Maduro maybe isn't Saint Teresa, but having him in custody in New York City is a national security threat. And it's not only a national security threat, but you can also argue this is like a hostage. This seems to be against the rules of reasonable engagement. How it's the case that U.S. justice says that you can send a SEAL team to Venezuela, you can blow up fishermen, you can conduct an entire illegal war without congressional approval. And this all comes back to Donald's first day after the election. If you say what you're going to do and then you do it, my belief about you is, well, I've been watching since the beginning. I'll make sure you don't get anything out of any of this. This is only going to get worse. You will learn in time. You will fail quickly. Hey, what's going on? Wasn't me? Good to see you. Hey, Vic, cool. I can be. Yeah, I was raised Catholic. I have some sympathies or sort of understandings of evangelical Christianity and spirituality. So if you have a Bible verse or something, feel free to show it. But I'm more of an Eastern secular atheist. But I like the last Bible verse I fell in love with is Ecclesiastes. Chapter 1, verse 17 through 18. And it is a leader who is talking about what you get when you become wise, when your experience brings you wisdom. And in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, 17, 18, this leader basically tells us that I've become wise and I've become absurd. I've found this doesn't mean anything. It doesn't help. And so I think it's a reminder that for both atheists and Christians or Muslims, the idea in this is that, well, you can decide what the universe is like, and being wise but also being goal-driven can bring you back some hard problems to think about. So I always try to be personally a little cool-tempered. I try to consider things. I try to not jump around from lily pad to lily pad. And so, I don't see Donald Trump living by this lesson. Donald Trump is not a Christian president. In fact, he's an abusive bully. He's a mass murderer. He's violated international law. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands, not an exaggeration, cases of civil rights abuses, which are a direct result only of ICE and his immigration authority. So Donald Trump, JD Vance, if you ever find a way to watch this, you should resign. You can quit. Have you ever done anything in life that benefited someone else other than yourself? Hey, Jason, good to see you. Yeah, I was raised Catholic. All four of my grandparents are veterans. And so thank you for your service. I see your profile picture, so thank you for your service. I'm not a leftist or a communist. If you want to talk about Locke or Rousseau or Thomas Hobbes, I can do that too. But yeah, so but what was I saying? Yeah, thank you for your service first and foremost. Hey, thanks, James. Appreciate you. That's cool. Yeah. I was raised Catholic, so I'm a big believer in social justice. The Catholic idea of social justice is from basically, two segments of the Bible. To bring me, you're naked, you're sick, the hungry, and the poor. And then it's also this caricature of Jesus in the book of Mark as a healer. He's someone who does good deeds, good works, and heals people without some expectation of giving them grace or explaining what grace is, explaining what God's law is. He just heals people. And so I would say the Jesus of the book of Mark, as well as, notions of who God has chosen to receive grace on earth. Those are two ideas I learned from religion. I would say that also studying ethics and morality from a secular sense is also a very good thing to do. The Bible's not equipped, and let's just be honest about this. The Bible's not equipped to solve large or small challenges. Small moves big, right? And so when you say small moves big, and then you pull that back a layer, okay, what actually do you get out of that? What new problems are you able to solve? And more gnostically, what do you actually go out and see, right? Those are three maybe big ideas to me, is small moves big. And so we should think of, in my view, people like Ilhan Omar in the times that she's been abused publicly, she's been assaulted verbally, her character has been demeaned, and tonight we see her assaulted by an unknown chemical in a town hall. Ilhan Omar, because a liquid will turn out to be a chemical unless you live on another planet. Ilhan Omar is a perfect example of someone who I think is doing really big things, doing really important things. She's an example of small moves big. She's an example of one voice out of 350 million, which is carrying sort of the hopes, the ambitions, your everyday opinions and appeals of tens of thousands of people that normally wouldn't have a voice in Washington. And so we should all stand with Ilhan Omar, especially right now. Keep her in your thoughts. If you are religious, keep her in your prayers, please. And yeah, this isn't political, but it is another reason Trump should resign. When you say these are the bad people, when you say that, when you say that these are bad people, when you don't admit that these are people doing their job, and then you decide how to work with them, then you decide how to compete with them, you're worthy of reproach. You're worthy of being held accountable under the standards of our society and our government. For Donald Trump and JD Vance at this point, that means they both should resign. They're both, I think, directly responsible for political violence, and they have both upheld a failing administration, a failing ICE administration, and they've upheld illegality in the international stage. 30 million in her account. It's none of your business. It's none of your business. Write your senator, write your senator, your Republican or Democratic representatives, and tell them why you believe that there should be an investigation. Do things the right way. You do not have the power to have extrajudicial justice. I don't care. You're a turncoat. I don't care if I'm a traitor. You're a turncoat. At least I don't have my clothes on backwards. At least I know who I am, and I always will. Hey, what's going on, Bill? Layla, good to see you. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, and this Tim Walz had a conversation with Donald Trump. I believe Greg Bovino's removal from Minnesota was one of Walz's requests, perhaps the plan or scheme they came up with together. Whether this was Donald Trump's idea or Tim Walz's idea, seeing two members of the executive branch of government be able to come together and action comes out of it. You have this inept, failing leader who's maybe not suited for this type of operation in Minneapolis. He's not able to convey the types of information he's supposed to convey. He doesn't have a political presence in a political situation. So Bovino is out. And yeah, I would hope Noam is next. I know there's members of Congress who want Kristi Noem impeached. And I wouldn't, and yeah, I think it's just the start. Do whites not get Jesus was against white supremacy? Hey, Rich Cohen. Yeah, I think, white privilege, even if you're not sort of on the left, but the topic, whether it's psychology or sociology, and I will say for myself, I think it's an interesting conversation. The fact that I get confused about whether white privilege is sociology or whether it's psychology doesn't make it twice as good, makes it twice as hard to sort of pin down and understand what it means. But yeah, white privilege, I think, is an important topic because when you see the data, when you could have that experience in a society of being white and having an advantage, whether or not you believe that extended into the 2000s, whether or not you believe it exists in the year 2026, or could come back up into the future, it definitely did exist. And so I think white privilege and white supremacy as an ideology, or belief set, whereas white privilege is maybe an economic or socio-political description. Both of these I think they're worth discussing, even if you don't buy them sort of wholesale. That's sort of my 2 cents. Yeah, I'm proud of my own pagan heritage. I had a flying spaghetti monster bumper sticker on my car in college. When I was in college, some of you guys would want me to be the radical leftist. I didn't have green hair or pink hair. I did have a 6-pack back then. Maybe I still do. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I did have a funny bumper sticker. None of your business, says the dude who put his hands on the feds while armed. Yeah, the irony to me isn't about justice for Alex Preddy. The irony for me is that, I have been for gun control. My friend Alex Teves was killed in Aurora, Colorado. I'm not trying to hold that up as like a political point. But if you've known someone or you had a friend in high school who got killed in gun violence, in this case, it was a mass shooting, it's just funny because I've been very observant. I've seen the two-way sort of movement. I've seen people want to throw half their paycheck at the gun lobby. I've seen people want to throw half their money into guns, like it's gold or silver, right? I've seen people ask, like, what would it actually take for me to own a BMG, right? What would it take for me to own a 50 caliber? And you're like, yeah, it would be like 20K. It would be 20K to actually have and own that gun, right? And so I've seen this and I've been like, well, this is just, it's so funny when it's convenient. When it's convenient, there's absolutely no good faith argument put towards the idea that guns are actually dangerous. And it is 100% comes back to winning a political point. And so if you don't use your pew-pews for pew-pew things, whatever those are, you use your pew-pews to win at the polls. I don't buy it. I know someone that died. I've listened. So whatever. My childhood friend was taken out in Georgia by an illegal immigrant. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Shadow Band. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. And I would imagine to hear the same thing back that I would say to you about my friend Alex, is that, that you can look at the statistics. And for me, I don't believe there are statistics to show that illegal immigrants commit crimes at a greater rate, that they have some of their own magic special social potion that leads to increase in especially serious crimes, serious or minor crimes, things like assault or homicide, sexual assault, any of those things. And so I would say, well, we can address and treat crime and we can have enforcement programs. And I should work with local law enforcement agency to detain people that skip court, as it always is. But that doesn't mean that you have due process somehow coming out. And so this is funny because despite any of our rage or anger or whatever it is, what I would say is, you're not in control of that branch of government that actually does enforcement. Do you know how immigration works? Maybe not as well as you. If you have something that you want to tell the chat or disprove me on, feel free. We got Anna in chat. We got a mod here. So what's up, Anna? Good to see you. But yeah, I believe from what I understand, we have seasonal migration in the United States. We have vacationers. We have permanent residents. Yeah. And I'm in Arizona. And so, one of the things I know that you may not know is a lot of people that come to the US from Mexico end up doing the job that naturalized citizens do here in the United States. That just tends to be maybe for like lower economic classes, right? And the way we would say this in the US isn't that like these are poor Mexicans doing these jobs, but it's like, yeah, if you don't have a US high school diploma or you don't have a US college education, that's more useful. That's a more interesting lens than saying that, whatever someone else might say, right? Than saying that, well, these are illegals. And I know this because Joe Arpaio's gotten reprimanded, I believe either held in contempt or had serious charges brought against him for arresting day laborers. And it turned out the majority of the day laborers he arrested and violated their due process were legal. They were citizens. And so in that case, they said, well, you're racial profiling. And we're seeing that again now, too, of course, in Minnesota, because you can't say I hate illegal aliens and not be racial profiling. Welcome to the United States. Illegals are afraid of police. They don't report tons of sexual abuse and extortions. Yeah. So this was a blocked comment that illegal. So if you're a person without citizenship, you're less likely to report to the police. It's not that you don't. It's just that you're less likely. And so if we are trying to find if we're trying to find more than 3 neurons, maybe more than 3 brain cells, neurons are the types of cells that our brain uses to communicate with itself and produce thoughts. Instead of saying legals are afraid of police, I would say that we like one of the most widely studied, understood, and perhaps even politicized issues is immigration, right? And so it's the same in the same way that big tech companies and internet service providers say, well, these Bible thumping hicks in Kentucky don't deserve good jobs. We're not going to go work for them because these are ignorant, bigoted, hateful, small-minded, selfish, fake citizens, right? These are fake people in the Bible Belt. So big tech says that about people in Kentucky or wherever it is. Sorry to all Kentuckians. We might also say, well, the reason we don't say illegals are afraid of police is because there's lots of cases where this type of thinking doesn't produce an intelligent thought. It doesn't produce intelligence. It never becomes intelligence. It evolves into hatred, bigotry, and racism. And so we should see the best in people. And the fact that if you are someone who doesn't know how to open a bank account, fine. Lots of people don't know how to open a bank account. If you're someone who doesn't know how to work more than one smart device, fine. Lots of people don't know how to work more than one smart device. If you're someone who doesn't know how to have an apartment and pay rent on your own, fine. Lots of people don't know how to have an apartment and pay rent on their own. There's lots of things in our society that lots of people don't do or do. Saying that illegals are afraid of the police doesn't capture why it's the case someone does choose or does not choose to call the police. I might say a serial killer never calls the police. A serial killer never calls the police on themselves. So I'm not gonna respond more to that. It's an interesting comment because it can be deconstructed, but trying to understand what you're actually saying in the world doesn't make sense because it is your subjective opinion. It's just your subjective opinion. Oh, foreign nationals. Woo! Foreign nationals don't have a right to be here. They must follow a process. Hey, I don't believe. Yeah, I mean, if you want to do expat stuff in the U.S., why not? Donald, I was just reading about Chad and Onjenima, which is their capital. And Chad asks for foreign national workers in oil and gas because they have a very low education rate. It's a very, very I mean, it's not a weird country. It's no weird. The United States is a weird country, but Chad is a very weird country. And so, yeah, there's plenty of reasons that very common if you went to IIT or you went to school in Europe or you went to one of the bigger and more prestigious schools in Latin America, that we would invite you to come to the United States. We would invite you to come here. And so, yeah, for a lot of people, because that is the case, that foreign nationals are actually highly desirable in some cases, it also means that in most cases, it's not really a political priority, right? And this is because if I know, here's a way to say this. If I know for the normie guys, for the normie folks, if I know in the next 30 years, there is going to be some state-sponsored group, they will claim to be non-state actors, and they will be very violent and dangerous. If I know in the next 30 years that's going to happen, I don't care about some guy named John or Juan from Mexico. I don't care about him. I care about what are the conditions in which we choose not to throw human beings at each other. So, political opinion, and if you want to go get them all, then be like a Pokemon. You can evolve yourself. Don't involve me in it. Stay very far away from me and my family, because you don't know what you're doing and you are ignorant. Not just ignorant, you're inept, right? You're inept and violent. So there's lots of things you are, lots of reasons that you should stay away from me. The United States is a very weird and unique. You are correct. Yeah, we're very wealthy. I like the United States. I do love living here. I've traveled a little bit. I've worked with people from lots of different places. It's hard because working with people, you don't realize whether their upbringing or their life and their day-to-day is very similar, very different. You're just kind of in that work environment. So, I know that's completely not saying nothing. It's a nothing burger, but immigration never came up. Not really. Will you refuse to accept Jesus if he wants to come to the U.S.? Thank you. We've got, I believe, the only true or truest form of Christianity repping in chat. How do you think the colonization of the West happened? Mass migration. Yeah, it was also the first wave of democratization the United States was involved in. And so as we saw British aristocracy and the British crown transition to a true commonwealth, a true sort of parliamentary republic system, parliamentary system, whatever it is, parliamentary democracy, I don't know. But we saw that. We saw the United States go from a confederate to a federal system. And so democracy happened, colonization happened alongside aristocracy and wealth, and those eventually became democracies. And so colonization or illegal immigration, but it was a early form of geopolitics. It was diplomatic, and very violent, very disruptive. Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Mark? Good to see you in chat. Hi. Illegal immigration isn't mass migration, though. There are limits. Illegal immigration isn't mass migration, though. Maybe. So this small country, Chad, that I was learning about, and by the way, my president, Donald Trump, said no more Chad visas. Okay, what are you talking about? But this poor country, Chad, is like 173 in terms of GDP. People in Chad make on average like $100 or less than $100 a month. So it's a very poor country. 80% of people in Chad's capital. If you guys have been watching my shorts, I talked about this a little bit, but so do like the video, subscribe, all that stuff, self-promoting. But if you guys look at Chad for just a second with me, okay? And we're not going to bounce around. 80% of people in Chad's capital, 80% are farmers. 80% of the people in Chad's capital city. Can you imagine if in Washington, D.C. or wherever, Mexico City, can you imagine if in Washington, D.C. or Mexico City, 80% of the people were farmers? They literally, their job was to buy and sell 2 or 3 oxen per year. That is what you do to make a living, is you buy and sell 2 or 3 cows per year. And so every day you go take care of your cow, every day you go check prices, every day you go see who's got what you got. And that is what is happening in the capital politics, right? And so the sort of sign that, Donald Trump's lost his mind is this country, Chad, that I'm talking about. 80% of the people in the capital are farmers. They're also the migrant capital of Africa. They have taken in 1.2 million refugees. So on less than $100 a month, and there are geographical and geopolitical reasons, but it doesn't matter. The smallest country in Africa takes in 1.2 million refugees per year. This isn't a joke. And Donald Trump, greedy, make America great again, president, the embarrassment, who should resign, him and JD Vance should resign, says, no, we're not going to allow 1,000 or 100 people from Chad to come into the United States and send remittances. Western Union, $50, $100 a month back home. You can live like the rest of us. They'll be slightly better off. They get ahead. You build this connection between our two countries in some way. Donald Trump says the number is 0. This guy is a psychopath. He's an abusive bully. He's a mass murderer. He should have been convicted of multiple felonies. He has sexually abused women. He put a sexual abuser in an office and changed the name to the Department of War. What a joke. What a joke. This president should resign. It isn't funny. It isn't superior. It isn't lowly. It isn't ironic. Donald Trump is a laughingstock. He is the joke of the international community. He will remain that way. Why should we build the connection? Hey, great question. Great question. I want you to all check out Aaron Farsing, because this is a really helpful question. So the reason we should build a connection between Chad and the United States is because we do a lot in Chad still. We do a lot in this tiny, poor African country. Hundreds of NGOs, US NGOs, so free market, free country. You can do a charity. You don't have to do a charity. But if you do a charity, you can go work in Chad. So do a lot of European NGOs. The Marines go to Chad and they do various crises drills. And so that's also helpful to us, right? You have Marines that get to have foreign service opportunities, not just basically being a grunt. If you've been in the military, what happens is you start looking like everyone else. You got the one guy that looks different, but everyone else looks like everyone else, right? And there's not a problem, right? You can all look the same, basically. I'm not a veteran, but I think that's what you guys do. And so you have Marines that go and train in Chad, and they train people in Chad. And then it's not just that. You also have like the National Health Services in the UK and many other places in Canada, in the US. You go and you study epidemiology, you study the climate crisis. So these events that are happen in a unique way in Chad, because it is this weird arid desert place that also floods because it's in the Nile Basin. And so this is why, Aaron, this to answer your question, and I see you pulled it out like, oh, I'm sorry I asked, which is kind of funny. It's a useful question, but we build connections with Chad in this way. And the reason we do this is the main reason that people want to build connections with Chad in this way, as it turns out, is because Chad's a cool place. It's a cool place. They have 3,000 years of history. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And so one of the things that I would sort of bring up is that, Donald Trump is an unhinged president. He bullies the refugee, climate crisis, disease, poor farmer, charitable, military-run country in Africa for no reason. Also, the other interesting problem or question facing this nation of Chad, and I'll close this topic here, is that Chad is home to millions of the people, of the 58 million people that speak this language known as Husan. I think I said that right. If I'm misremembering it, I'm so sorry. But yeah, so the people of Chad only speak the same language as 58 million other people. So for everyone in chat right now speaking English, as we speak English, congratulations. you're doing well, and you're doing like 3 billion other people or whatever it is. Capitalism. My favorite book on capitalism is probably Joseph Schumpeter, Capitalism and Democracy. Schumpeter argued that corporatism, and so I don't totally agree with him. He was a European economist. And that doesn't mean that much, but it maybe influences slightly the tradition he comes from intellectually. So it's not like this fucking European guy, but it's just like, yeah, intellectually or academically, Joseph Schumpeter, Schumpeter, whatever, however you say his name. But anyways, in terms of capitalism, he thought corporatism was basically the worst thing in the world. Corporatism as well as government overreach. And so you can go back if you want to look up Joseph Schumpeter, but his basic idea was that, capitalism in countries are like a forest. They blossom, they go through these boom bust cycles, but this creates innovation and change, revolutions in society, innovation, just evolution, whatever you want to say. And as soon as you start telling people who to be and how to do it, the thing that they do, that stops. And so that's one of my favorite books on capitalism. I've read Wealth of Nations a long time ago. I haven't read it in some time. I do like John Locke, but I'm not that well read. I like going to Wikipedia pages of Friedman and Hayek, but a lot of that stuff's over my head, to be honest. So we don't sacrifice ourselves to a flag. We are charged with treason. RESIGN. We don't sacrifice ourselves to a flag. We are charged with treason. Wow. Yeah, there are definitely cases, and I think people that either join the military or are thinking of public service, some people say it's a few moments that really count. Some people say that, it's sort of the spirit or attitude you carry with you. It's how you conduct yourself, your habits. But a lot of this sort of like objective speak, this Marcus Aurelius sort of like, no offense, but sort of this hyper masculine, super like sort of philosophical, going to get some sort of self-help stuff. I don't know. I just guess that sort of falls away. I think it's useful to go do something, go volunteer. If any of you guys are content creators, at some point I'll post my email or something in my channel email in my channel description. We can always collab on something and stuff like that. So it's cool to get out there. Go on Discord, right? That's what I did. I'm obviously a small YouTuber, but like, if you can't be a senator, but you wanted to be a judge or a senator or a congressman, just go on Discord, get a job, learn peer leadership, learn how to manage up, learn how to manage down, learn all that stuff, learn how to work within a hierarchy, learn how to work on a team, and don't change what something is, all that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts? Hey, Sky Morgs, good question. So I think Donald Trump, so Donald Trump shouldn't take action in Iran from a US politics perspective. The fact that an aircraft carrier is deployed, I believe, is equivalent to starting and threatening an illegal war. It's very sad. Iran's government from a US perspective and US standard is really fucked up. But the main thing is that the US and even countries like China, even countries like Russia, don't wish to manage international politics the way Iran would. And so there's a lot of pressure on the regime, and there's a lot of pressure and violence against civil society, especially. I think people that want to take an active role in crises politics, things around resources, water in Iran, things about energy scarcity, capital scarcity, inflation, all of these things that common sense would dictate we do manage politics around. But it's also true that, I don't believe that we can tell another country when to become a liberal democracy or an institutionalized government. But I'm also sure you could ask, right? This is one of those things is with like the Ayatollah, I'm sure someone with a working relationship could say, hey, this stuff looks really bad. And so, you and I, like, if we operate on the assumption that you and I both know that when the people of Iran want you gone, you're gone, and you're not going to do anything about it. So let's pretend that's the case. What would be the problem with amplifying the role of institutions in Iran, right? This might be some level of space for the Iranian people to actually have recourse, maybe some justice for the lives they lost, and to hopefully create some pathway to not seeing a insurmountable division in the society, right? That is how an autocracy would work, right? In my view, in my infinite wisdom, that's how I would run an autocracy. In terms of their democratic ambitions and their incredibly educated population, yeah, absolutely. If you're ready to go lose some of that in a couple generations, we would love to have you. I just don't think it's going to happen with warships. You and I both fucking know it. So welcome to the world. And so there's a lot of evidence that democracy is something that is expensive. You have to buy it in history, not with money, but you have to buy it with blood, sweat, tears, and timing. And so we saw the first wave of democratization end during the First and Second World War, where fascism came from democracy. So you have empire and kingship and aristocracy, then you have democracy, and it goes so well that then you get fascist states. You get better democracies, you get the nuclear bomb, and guess who wins? The hegemon wins, right? The biggest states. And so in terms of asking whether Donald Trump can bomb Iran into submission or bomb their way to democracy, is that what happened in Syria? Who knows? Who knows? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure you had people in Syria who had said, by plane, train, automobile, and by Allah's will alone, this guy can go fuck himself. And in 3 weeks, guess what I'm going to say? I'm going to say the same exact thing. By plane, train, automobile, or Allah's will, this guy can go fuck himself. And then you have a democracy at some point. So, but yeah, that's interesting news out of Syria as well. So Syria's president, I always forget this guy's name. Syria president. I'm just going to Google this on my laptop. Ahmed al-Shara. Ahmed al-Shara. Yeah, President al-Shara. So in Syria, the president met with Kurds. So there's a lot of political and ethnic divisions, perhaps different ambitions, perhaps different requests or plans for regional power politics or peace domestically. And so he met with the Kurds. So basically this looks like, oh, well, so Trump is, I don't get it. So if Donald Trump is going to go kill a bunch of ISIS people and then you're going to go do nice things, for what reason? Because I don't know. I don't get it. Trump is going to go kill 200 people he's never met for what fucking reason? Hey, what's up, everybody? Random Goon, good to see you. Hammer, good to see you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Very kind. Because ISIS is bad. Yeah. Yeah. ISIS is also really poor, it kind of takes, so it does take two things. I think it takes someone who has a unique view of incentive structures and cost benefit analysis to be in ISIS and say, well, those old buildings that someone was working in, we're going to take those and we're going to go do the same thing, but we're going to do it. That takes a little fucked up in the head analysis. And then I also think people who have smartphones, have access to what's going on in the world, have access to regional politics, who say, yeah, these psychopaths who are recruiting people to come and basically become to become grunts. They're saying, join the Marines in ISIS. I'm going to show that we're fine. We're cutting people's heads off. We're doing it for Allah. Allah said it's okay. And so we're killing the infidels, but come be a grunt. We're going to go steal some Humvees. We're going to go pirate some oil. You can come be a badass. You always wanted to be a badass. Come see what you're like when you're a badass. And so people seeing these nut jobs, these dogmatic religious zealots taking over government buildings and stealing stuff and saying this is our government, that also is like a unique situation. So I think the opposite is like, well, once you're truthful and you actually say that these are fucking psychotic religious zealots, you're not done and that's just what someone is, but you've completed that part, right? And so you can say, well, now I get it. You haven't had political power. maybe half of you guys used to be bureaucrats, or you knew someone who was, whatever. Maybe lots of reasons. You used to, prior to all of this, you used to have an understanding of sort of the decision structure, and then you didn't. And so this was the logical conclusion of that, right? It doesn't do away with the fact that this is a theocratic and authoritarian, meaning it involves a monopoly on violence sort of effort, but it's everything else as well. Oh, hey, James, only 30% of Americans agree with ICE, so don't let the few think that you are. Only 30% of Americans, yeah. I don't know the actual statistics, James. ICE does seem in Minneapolis to be, the way I would say it without knowing statistics, you may know more than I do, is that ICE seems to be addressing the whole of society. Very cool conversation, but you don't get to be in Minnesota and you either totally avoid this ICE conversation, or you're out protesting, you're doing civil disobedience, you say, arrest me, officer, I'm next, all this stuff. And yeah, and so in Minnesota, it's just wild. In Arizona, where I live in Arizona, so Border Patrol shot some fucking guy in the chest today, pop. So Border Patrol shot somebody on the southern border today. I don't know what it was about. Truthfully, I don't like seeing it. I probably don't trust the motherfucker who reported the story, but Border Patrol shot somebody. Sorry for the cross language. And then yesterday, Homeland Security raided 15 of this little dipshit restaurant chain called Zips. Very stupid. Very stupid. I live by one of these Zips. They have focaccia bread and they have onion straws. And so as someone who's gone to this place before, the sports bar, I've gone and watched the Bears there because, I'm in Arizona. I can't watch the Bears that many places, but on football Sundays, I used to be able to go there and watch my football team that I like, I'll show you guys. I got my Bears swag right here, guys. Just so the Chicagoites don't think I'm shilling, I have my Bears pillow. It's right here. It is right here. Yeah, and so in Arizona, Border Patrol shoots someone. They raid this restaurant for a Homeland Security purpose of immigrants and stuff like that. I don't get it, but whatever. Even Republicans ain't ducking with ICE. Yeah, I think more and more the Minnesota governor guy dropped out. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are afraid to echo Donald Trump's sentiment. It's kind of sad to see that Republicans can't just say, well, I'm a Republican and I don't support Donald Trump. Donald Trump should resign and you guys can say that, so. That's a cringe thought process to think that poor people aren't as capable of good as rich people, so we should just excuse the poor, terrible behavior in regards to ISIS. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of fascinating, right? Because if you are a counterterrorism expert or you study it academically, you might like pinpoint on a map and say, okay, well, this region's producing more people that are foreign extremists. They will go travel to go fight. They'll earn a paycheck through fighting. And yeah, ISIS and the Al-Qassam brigades in Palestine. Hezbollah is very large. Hezbollah is bigger. They shouldn't exist, right? That's not like we should exterminate them, but at some point, Hezbollah shouldn't be a government, I don't think. I wouldn't feel safe if Hezbollah was a political party either. That's not my business to say, but yeah, a lot of these places, they have a payroll, you can get promoted. And so to say that poor people aren't as capable good as rich people, and so we should just excuse the poor's terrible behavior. I don't know exactly where to place your statement, and the reason isn't that you're right. The reason is that it doesn't represent what reality is like. You know, having out of 100 people, having one or two, you know, you get a smartphone, you find the right websites, right? You're maybe doing, maybe you're just doing Dawa stuff, or you're doing some form, and you know, you're hanging out with the same type of people that would be here, or on any other YouTube channel. And then, you know, you, whatever happens, you join a Telegram or a Discord, or you stumble on a Facebook page, and it is extremism. You hear you can make money doing extremism, right? And you don't know if this is doing Facebook posts, filming content, or getting recruited, whatever. You're not that ignorant, but you're not that smart. And and so you join an extremist group. And that's fine, but like, right, that is one thing one person goes and does. You know, there's also militias that are, their people have meetings with government officials, you know who they are. Maybe they're a pest, maybe they're a big pest that's not going to exist for 100 years and they know it, but they're still, like, these are still people, and this is just what politics is like. I'm going to zoom down a little bit. Hey, what's up, Saul Bernal? Please, no spelling out racial slurs over time. ICE kills Americans. Hey, you guys see that? I'm here to protect you from immigrants unaliving you. Yeah, if ICE, under the law, if ICE isn't doing their job. Adam, I didn't ban you. You can tag me. Oh, that is the Autobot. What did you say? Focus on American culture and problems. Yeah, so this is a really elegant comment, very elegant opinion. Adamantium 69, what does this say? 696 says, focus on American culture and problems, fuck other countries, period. Yeah. And so the definition of America, which you use in there, of a state, is internationally recognized borders and territories, as well as a unique culture, as well as, you would assume the American government has a monopoly on violence. That's a decent starting point. It's a starting point. You can disagree. And so when you say focus on American culture and problems, fuck other countries, you're saying, well, we want to focus on all America all the time, but fuck all the stuff that basically you guys are doing all this stuff. So fuck learning. Fuck learning, says Adamantium. I didn't ban your comment. You said the F word, by the way, and so my bot banned you. All justified, all the time. Thank you, ICE. So I don't know where in American culture, which has not, we were built on both slavery, but we were also built on jurisprudence and rule of law, both. So if ICE isn't operating justly, ICE shouldn't be operating. Abolish ICE. You should abolish ICE, right? That's what I would say as a progressive center Democrat, is what you're going to hear, and the only thing you're going to hear, for young lady, young man, for the next 3 years, the only thing you're going to hear is abolish ICE. All you're going to hear about is the civil rights violations. The only thing you're going to hear about is people's rights being violated. You're going to hear about judges throwing out civil rights suits. You're going to hear about people who had to miss work, people who are trying to put food on the table for their family because you want to say, oh, fuck illegal aliens. Nope. What you will hear, and what I will hear for the next 3 years, will be abolish ICE. They should not be operating, because if they are operating without justice, then there is no justice to be had. Thank you very much. Book closed. That's the end of the story. That's what's happening. Abolish ICE is a dumb perspective. No, it's not. There are many, many, many Democrats, I'm sure some of whom are excellent at writing policy, excellent at conducting town halls, who ran on the platform, included in their platform, to abolish ICE. In places like New York City, where stop and frisk was incredibly unpopular and still is incredibly unpopular. People want to abolish ICE, and so go for it. And if I see people in Arizona getting deported and shot, I want you gone too. I don't want you operating here. I don't care if they abolish you or take your budget. I don't want you around my family. I don't want to see you when I go out. I don't want you anywhere close to me. Not a chance. I don't care if Donald Trump wants to go around to the suburbs because the cities are too crowded. You're going to do the same thing. You're being held in contempt of courts. There's been tens of thousands of cases of civil rights being violated, and that's not going away. So, Sick from the Kush says, I can defend the restaurant raid. You don't think so? By the restaurant raid, the Zips thing? I don't think a company that hires illegals by policy is doing unethical shit. I imagine those restaurants unethical shit. You sound like a Connor Counterpoints viewer. So if you guys don't know who Counterpoints is, and we're not going to talk about other streamers that aren't interesting or intelligent, but anytime Connor gives an opinion, it ends up going, well, this fucking shit has got to get fixed, and Trump is going to fix it. Otherwise, the fucking shit is not going to change. And so when you say someone's doing unethical shit, what does that mean? So you're telling a small business owner how they can run their business. You are not telling that small business owner what processes to follow when they go through hiring. Okay, did they follow those processes? And so if you think someone that is working there is illegal, you can go ahead and, for whatever reason, if you round them up and you want to put them in a cage and ship them back, you can go to a judge and ask what it will take to do that and what they have to say back to that. So there are tens of thousands of cases of people's civil rights being violated. I don't think of, as someone who's worked in restaurants, I worked in restaurants from the time I was 16 to like 22, 23, before I got my first big boy job at Vanguard. It's not great, but it is good. Before I got my first big boy job, I worked at restaurants, and no one takes that business on seriously, right? No one would hire someone they think should be deported or not working. And so so when you say they're doing unethical shit, and then you're throwing in words like coyotes and extortion, what is this? A John Wick movie? Sick from the Kush? No, you don't care about Trump. You're Canadian. I like your thoughts. You didn't say anything crazy, even if I am not as sympathetic about immigration stuff. I'm Canadian. It's not my problem yet. Yeah, well, you're going to have 100% taxes too. So, when Donald Trump says little bitch boys in Canada can't come and play anymore, it is your problem. Donald Trump should resign. Mark Carney, I think, should be supported to be a very strong and peaceful prime minister. I've never been a radical leftist. I had a communist shirt in college. I had a shirt that said CCCP. I would say I really liked listening to Francis Fukuyama when I became about 30. And the second time I read Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the second time I read Thomas Hobbes, the second time I read John Locke was when I started following a little more closer, like the institutional sort of philosophy, social theory, but more so focusing again on individualism, not, to your point, Alini, your question. I think just trying to build an understanding of how the United States works and operates from a positive standpoint is very useful. And trying to detangle or detangle or try to sort of find why the evidence is you're bringing or something, not the first ideas, like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So in my 30s, I became more liberal. I believe more conservative as well. I'm probably more conservative than you. I don't think you actually know what you believe. El Nini 2796. I doubt you have a worldview. I know I have a worldview. I have a very strong worldview. Well, what is it? I'll tell you one day. Yes, you can't handle the truth. Not a fan of Locke. Locke's all right. He's a good writer. Locke, I think when Locke's not doing his like original position, he's not doing a state of nature argument. He's a beautiful writer, and he talks about democracy well. He talks about what people should think about. It's sort of the base layer of a democracy. It's very silly to say that's all that there is, or that is the only base layer of a society. But I'm not a fan of Locke either, in terms of like prescribing myself to him. You know, I wouldn't prescribe Locke to a ton of problems, but he's a good writer. I think anyone, anywhere, even in a highly socialized, like welfare state, could read John Locke and learn from him and kind of get where he's coming from. I'm not saying you should, but coming from someone who won't grow. Oh my God, Mr. Fox, I had to shave, dude. I had to shave. I don't know. You can probably see it's coming back in, but I did have to shave. It was a lot longer. I looked like Forrest Gump. I guess beard wigs are absurd. Yeah, that's funny, dude. That's a little funny. Who released you? Released you, moron. They were all Democrats. They will release you. Okay. They would immediately condemn the killing of civilians. This guy immediately blamed Trump with bullet points. Yeah. I did. I will tell you what I blame Trump for, and I'll tell you when I blame him. And I'm happy to blame Trump almost every day, because Donald Trump, and listen, lock this in your mind, that this is what the crazy duck guy believes. The day after Trump got elected, he postured. He threatened violence against basically every country in the world. It's not a hyperbole. Donald Trump says he will do whatever the fuck he wants when he wants to. And so the day after Donald Trump got elected was the day that I decided I will not support Trump in anything he does. I can make policy decisions, my own opinions and stuff about what Trump says and does, but I will not have a president who threatens people. Not for a single day, not one. I will not have a president who makes a promise of violence, because that is abuse. Donald Trump's economy is horrible. I don't believe that anyone has a clear picture of what the economy is like right now. I think people that do say they do are delusional. Hey, P.T. Barnum. I worked with, this might be funny. You guys are going to think I'm lying or making this up, but I worked with P.T. Barnum's nephew. I worked with P.T. Barnum's nephew back in the day. He wasn't my direct manager, but he would have been a boss. He was, he was a cool guy. And PT, so if you guys aren't from the US, PT Barnum is like United States lore. He's a lesser known character. He's not the main character or something. But PT Barnum started like carnivals and sideshows. So PT Barnum would, he's the guy that would put like the giant circus tent, and there would be acrobats and elephants, and yeah. So he was basically one of the biggest entertainers ever. But yeah, Andrew Jackson is very famous for genocides and racism against indigenous people, and for pragmatically justifying unimaginable scope of violence. P.T. Barnum is the entertainer, and Richard Nixon is a liar. He's a crook. He's someone that lied, and he's also someone that went along with military bases in Guam, bombing Cambodia, and was it Laos or Vietnam? Bombing a bunch of places for nearly 10 years. The Empire. You guys love the Empire. So I'll just say this real quick. And yeah, if you guys are going for W's, the MAGA folks might say this is a W. Yeah, I'm highly opposed Trump. I oppose U.S. overreach of power. But if you're not in the U.S., I would bet dollars to donuts. You talk about the United States as an empire, and you love it. You've heard it before, but it turns out you actually love us. You love it. And I can prove it to you, is if I went and I said, well, just for next week, or just, if it comes up in the next year, I'm going to switch teams, and instead of opposing Donald Trump, I'm going to support highly nationalized views of U.S. expeditions, U.S. policy that impacts other states. And yeah, it's going to be a little uncomfortable maybe, but ultimately, if it needs to be done, that's what we are going to do. I think some of you guys would be okay with it. I think some of you guys would still watch me. Do you block them because they disagree with you? I blocked a bunch of people. I blocked people that are bullies and abusers online. If you get distracted by me because you're bullying me or whatever, and I think that what you're going to do as soon as I stop engaging, when it's not fun for you anymore, you're going to go bully someone else. Like, why wouldn't I block that person, right? Like, I'm telling you this as, like, I'm not a tough guy, but as a former wrestler, like, if somebody wanted to be a jerk and we could be like, okay, bro, like, for the sake of sport, we can meet up, we can wrestle, or we can box, we can do an MMA fight. I don't care. Like, I would, like, in that case, like, I'm just saying, like, but I'm like, to me, it's not sport to be degrading to someone. It's not sport to be rude to someone. It's not sport to be disrespectful to someone. And so I do think it's very stupid when people run their mouth. But I don't want to run my mouth. I don't want to do that. So I think I have hard bones. I don't think they're that hard, but like, I think I could, if I was just like here, if I was just, kind of getting into it a little bit, I think I could take I could bleed a bit from my brow. I could take a few cuts. I don't think you're going to break anything in my head. Not most people. Someone would, right? Just as long, if you are Jocko Willenick or you are David Goggins bullying people on the internet and I step up and stand up to you, I am so sorry. I did not mean that. And in a room, typing to a dude talking in a room, hell yeah. Hey, what up, some dumb beats? Trent, I see your message. He's using a computer to communicate at him. Are we doing sci-fi? Even someone who is very angry knows the difference between an argument and then they are just trying to get in a fight. And in your room, typing to a dude talking in a room? Trent, I see your message. Hey, thanks, Victor. Sorry, it's good to see you. I saw your messages in chat. Sorry, I didn't say that much tonight, but it's good to see you again. No way, really, peace, Victor. It seemed Adam was confused. Trenton McCooter, are you going to talk about the immigration crisis we are in? You have acknowledged that Biden's admin allowed more illegals to cross the border in one term than the previous 3 terms. Yeah, I don't know that I would accept your positioning of what happened. I don't know that your statement is inclusive. If you're actually trying to understand immigration, I wouldn't start with a politicized view. I do think that this is one of the cases where bureaucracy should be trusted. It should be the lever of government that we lead with versus democracy. And so I do believe a bureaucratic understanding of immigration would be a great start. And yeah, you might have a better understanding of immigration than I do. Immigration has never been a priority. I think people lie when they say immigration. I don't know who said this. Someone in chat may have said this, but if your blood vessels aren't contracting when you see someone that is an illegal immigrant, and you say this person means me harm, right? But yeah, it's funny because if you go out to eat at a restaurant and you believe restaurants are hiring illegal aliens, they're hiring people without work status, so the person they hire doesn't have work status. Well, are you afraid of the person in the back of the house? Is that what you should be? Should you be afraid? Should you just say they broke the law? Which one is it then? Which one is it? And so saying that I am interested, you have a passion, Trent. If you have a passion, go study immigration then, dude. Go study immigration. Go study the sociology of political beliefs and political extremism. Go study criminology and see if that bumps into your fascination with immigration one day. Turn your smartphone into a library. Turn your smartphone into a tool for research of your making. And so, yeah, I still support Biden. Biden actually released a message today. Yeah, guys, I'm staying, your buddy Duck's staying up to date, so you don't have to. And Biden condemned, he echoed that there's not, whatever he said. He said something a president says, but he said there's not a reason to support this level of violence, and it's a tragedy. I can look it up. I should look it up. This is what is it? Monsieur Joe Biden. Let's see if I can get this. As long as Fox News doesn't edit his statement. Yeah, so, Joe Biden did loop in guns. He said, we're not a nation that guns down our citizens in the street. Okay, period. We are not a nation that allows our citizens to be brutalized for exercising their constitutional rights. We are not a nation that tramples the Fourth Amendment and tolerates our neighbors being terrorized. Yeah, so all true things. Maybe don't carry a loaded gun to a protest dummy. I don't want to do that one again, guys. Oh my God. Are we? No. Yeah. I mean, if you're consistent, if you feel you're consistent on your 2A stuff, I'm not going to believe you. Someone in chat that's been here for the full hour knows why, but I've been listening. I'm not going to believe you. So I know what a firearm is. I have been listening. I know what you people say. I know what you say when you want something. I know what you say when you understand what a firearm is. I know what you're saying now that you see someone who gets shot by ICE. I know what you say when you, for no reason whatsoever, don't like the person who is carrying the gun. I know what you people think about 2A. I know how you use them. I know how you handle yourself while you have them. So I will not buy a teaspoon of the bullshit about 2A. Even if I have a conservative belief in anywhere in my body, I'm not going to believe a goddamn thing you say. Had so many guns. Cool. Iron sharpens iron. That was my pop. No. Hey, buddy, take your butt to bed, boy. Hey, what's going on, Nick Marsh? Hopefully, thank you. I hope you can recover from whatever damage you just did to your brain or body. You don't know jack shit. You don't know the 2A. You fucked around and found out. Hey, Chris, good to see you. So, Chris, I'm wondering if you've updated your beliefs. I know you're not a database. I'm not a database, but you see Ilhan Omar get assaulted with chemicals at her press conference today. They had to fire Bovino. They sent him back to California. There's another shooting in Arizona today. What else? You have courts. You have Minnesota courts holding ICE agents in contempt for deporting people without trials. You don't even get to see a judge. Ain't that something, Chris? I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. I'm not saying there's a tide that's turning, but fair is fair. Just is just. Right is right. And it just seems to fit for a guy like me. For someone who's probably the most American person in this chat. Chat, I am more American than you. And guess what? For a guy like me, who's going to march, who's going to learn the salute. Mr. President, I'm calling on you to resign, Donald Trump. You and JD Vance can both resign. Resigner. We got a quitter, folks. It's okay. You can quit. You can quit, Donald Trump. We will take care of the MAGA politicians. We always do as a country. It's just what happens over time. You learn, you admit your mistakes and your faults. You admit them publicly, acknowledge them publicly at some point in time. And then it's like it never happened. And it's between you and God. I can review Bible verses with you guys. I'm not going to, but I could. Welcome to the United States, folks. You are a fruit. Oh my gosh. Homophobia, Islamophobia, not being fascinated about what people in other cities or countries are like. What do you like? What do you like? I don't actually care that much. Guess what? That's how American I am. I'm a cosmopolitan global citizen. I would love to just hang out, but I don't care that much unless you care. If you care, I care, right? That's how I am. But yeah, I mean, there's people in Russia that collect the same exact sports cards that we do in the United States. There's a lot of Chinese sports card collectors. So for anyone that does, the old Gary V, buy, sell, flip, anyone who goes yard sailing or goes, buys lockers or, whatever, you're doing the marketplace hustle. I know how much time it takes to make $2 sometimes. I get it. But there are people all over the world doing the same thing as you. That's way closer than whatever Donald Trump telling you to hate someone. Do you believe biological women deserve their own private spaces? Yeah, I mean, I don't have a very strong belief about bathrooms. You put a sign on the door, and so follow what the signs say. If the sign says woman and man, follow what the sign says. It is amazing to me that someone would realize that there are people, even if there is a political belief that like we should have all family bathrooms or that we should have stricter enforcement of gender norms. But it is incredible to me that someone doesn't take how absurd that is and go and learn from it. Who's Kyle Rittenhouse? I don't know who people are. That's like living through hell, is learning what people are. I resell antiques and do well. Cool. Shout out to Scuffed Realtor. I have a Murano glass vase. So I worked at this restaurant. I shouldn't tell this. I worked at this really nice wine bar when I was in college, and they were closing. And one of my coworkers was like, Nate, take that vase. That vase is for you, right? And so I took this vase. It was this dusty old vase that was the property of the company, but it was the only thing that I ever technically stole, even though I don't think about it as being stolen, even though it was stolen. And yeah, but it's this like really nice, like hand blown glass vase. It's like bright red. It's beautiful. I can go get it, but I should have it behind me. It's very fancy. It's ambient. Living through hell equals learning new things. Hopefully. Art Deco. Hell yeah. Greasy Grace. Biological woman, my arse. Womanhood is intersectional. I take that question as offensive. Flawed by design. Yeah. Biological women. I tend to agree. That's my actual belief set is that, if we define people by a chromosome, by a set of chromosomes, and we just say that it's XX and XY chromosome because on a population level, you see the same trait expression and like morphology or whatever, organ development, human development, all kinds of stuff. Then it is a medical definition. It isn't, it's not constructed. And yeah. I think intersectionality is important. I think anyone that does academics and people that are either talking or interested in society and politics, Intersectionality is a great way to integrate your brain, right? Learn what other people think, understand the political worldview or the ideologies that are often associated with intersectionality. If someone tells you to learn the stories, figure out why that is. What's important about these stories and what other stories are there? So intersectionality is very important to me. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. And I'm not arguing for Donald Trump or MAGA, but if you when it was 2013 or 2014, so a decade ago, and people are throwing around woke politics, and you see this as an opportunity to learn something or learn lots of things, go pick up what you need to actually understand what someone's trying to tell you about the world. Where's all the vegans? Where's someone saying that stepping on a cricket is wrong? Where's someone saying that stepping on an ant is wrong? Where's someone that's saying, driving an extra 5 miles is technically immoral because you are releasing approximately, depending on the size of your car, you're releasing between 5 and 15 pounds of CO2 into the air for that extra trip you took. Right? I know intersectionality is not about that. It's not about that, right? But yeah. But that's why I am anti-racist. I'm pro-LGBTQIA policy issues and politics. I am not, and I've never been woke. So I'm not a collectivist either. Sorry. I myself, I don't think collectivism would work in the United States. I'm waiting on Mamdani to prove he's the difference maker. And I would happily support him or try to. If you guys understand that, I would put in the sweat equity to help Mamdani if I was in New York. I'd actually want to help with something, or I'd want to support the things he was doing, even if I didn't believe in that idea, just because I think it's worth. You're bordering on woke. Hey, if you goon me because you're bigger than me, I'll goon you back. I'll goon you back for that. About the car and CO2. Repeat that shit you just said. Yeah, if you decide you just want to go for a drive for 5 miles, you're taking my daughter's gas money. You're taking my daughter's future. You are making plants and soil and water do things it doesn't have to do, and that is going to kill people. So I'm not going to judge you, but I do think there's huge energy waste in the US. There's huge energy waste in lots of places. I also, let me surprise you with something else. I think it's bullshit. So China absolutely has a political demand to energy. China has political authority as well as a very logical, understandable claim to the world energy supply because they have 1 billion people. So does India. They have 1 billion people. So does Russia. Russia is a huge territory. These are all reasons that as a state, you can say, yeah, we deserve to be able to spend a bunch of energy and make stuff. I think it's partially bullshit to say that, well, just all over the world, for the next 20 years, we're going to accept what you say about Chinese energy use, just like you think it's bullshit and aren't going to accept what the US says about US energy use. I know it's hard, isn't it? I'm just yapping, Randy, dude. Give me something to yap about. My mom is from St. Petersburg, Russia. Cool. St. Petersburg is probably a beautiful city. Aristocracy always produces interesting culture. Sort of, not really, right? I was at a performance of the Nutcracker, very famous ballet. The Nutcracker is. I was at a performance of the Nutcracker this holiday season, and you sort of realize when you hear these epic scores and you see these very elaborate scenes where there's, maybe 20 or 30 performers on stage, you realize that a lot of the context of aristocratic culture happens underneath the surface. And so, yeah, that stuff's all cool. That stuff's always cool. She's always said that we aren't mad at any citizens. We are mad at the government, and that's just patriotism. Cool. Finding misplaced anger, and one often doesn't know where it came from or when they have to put it back. And so it's good. It's good. If you want to describe power that way, then I think many would be happy to do so. So that's useful. I believe he did, but go off. Oh, whoops, sorry. Am I missing stuff? I'm missing some done beats. I'm missing Sky too. Dude's rambling about nonsense because we keep asking about Iran and he won't condemn the regime killing civilians. Now over 30,000 dead. Yeah. Independent, wasting people's time. Independent observers. Independent observers. So, it's very sad. I think one of the problems with autocratic regimes is if you are waiting bureaucratic problems to become democratic or to be responsive to democratic levers, or to be strong-armed in like a neo-Hobbesian sense, in any of those cases, it's just about how much you care, right? Because Iran isn't going to probably feel a demand to accurately report statistics internally about the number of civilians they killed. Right? I think everyone knows that. And the other part of it is that, well, there isn't really another part, right? In the case of Pinochet in Latin America, after he left the office, after he get killed or arrested or something, they did a massive commission and they went around and they tracked the sites and a list of names of the people and the victims of Pinochet's military dictatorship. Is it Chile? So he killed a lot of people. That Pinochet guy, he got pretty good at it. He loved killing people. That Che Guevara guy, he loved killing people. That Donald Trump guy, he didn't know it, but he sure loved killing people. Got pretty good at it. Got pretty dang good at it. Really bad. Hey, Chris Molina. They claim 3,117 deaths. That's the same random number of deaths they claimed they had in COVID and other events just to hide it. Yeah, I mean, that's bullshit, right? Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they were reporting 3,000 deaths. I wouldn't be surprised if there's at least 5,000 deaths. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't double the number. It's just it's very sad. And so sometimes, we can beg to wonder if order. I hope this awakens something in you, chat. Like the video and subscribe. When we look at this number, it begs the order of the mind. It begs what consciousness is about. It begs us to consider if we would be more compassionate if it was one person that was right next to us. And when we see the number is 5,000 or 10,000 or 30,000, and it's because they're distant, it's very sad. It's very sad. It is a moral failure and it is exhausting. It was 5,000 people versus 3,000 people. And then you can get back to the questions of what justice looks like in this regime, right? This is what critical theory is about. I'm not a big critical theory fan. This is what sort of group-based political ideology is about, is that like, well, yeah, if there is severe injustice by this Iranian regime, you can't get over the fact that they maybe killed 3,117 protesters. If you admit that you did that, then the core political question, so you are legitimate, is what is justice now? What must justice be spoken of? And it is that you resign your government. It is that you resign your government. so that they do not do the same. So that they do not do the same. Welcome to actual geopolitics, guys. It doesn't get easier. My main concern is still seeing Ilhan and Omar get attacked tonight, and she wanted to keep going. Someone threw chemicals in her face, and she wanted to keep going. So keep going. Keep going. Keep going. The beard is to compensate for a weak jawline. Yeah. You just want me to 6'7", right? I'm guessing someone just wanted me to 6'7". I own the coach. You're a coach for the, hey, what's up, Brett? For the Cleveland Browns, can I help you? Yeah, sure. I actually can. So it depends what you coach. It depends if you're a quarterback coach. If you're a quarterback coach, and you can see I'm not a quarterback, but if you were a quarterback coach, I'm like Tyreek Hill. I don't know if you've heard of Tyreek Hill. You probably have. But if I was going to coach a quarterback here real quick, what I'd say is, you can get your quarterback to shuffle, and if they're, one of the things is they can pull the back and do their drawback with a relaxed back and shoulder, right? Because you don't know where you're going to load from, and as soon as you start loading, you're committed to a play, you're committed to a throw, and so this is just a useful lens that people don't think that you can be relaxed within a play, but if you're staying in the fold of the playbook, if you're staying in the playbook, and you've got these divas that are saying, we're beyond that, we know each other so well, we don't have to do the playbook. Coach your quarterbacks. Coach your quarterback that no. If you're not actually drawing back in the playbook, you're not able to get your shoulders back, you're not able to drop down, relax, and you're not able to load effectively to get the pass off. Well, then you're going to either be telegraphing or there's going to be miscommunication. And we see this all the time. Something goes weird at the line. Someone lines up in a different spot. There's a bump, there's a nudge, and it's reactively difficult to recover. And so it's always weird, right? When you see, what I'd say is when your players always know what's going on, they're always the experts. But it's difficult to fix the physical dimension of that game. Well, then, yeah, it's probably a physical problem. If you know what happened, but there's physicality that's not getting fixed, it has to be a physical problem in there. So that's my advice for the Cleveland Browns. As to the Chicago Bears, and next year, folks, that's my distant backup plan is to open. So yeah, if you guys are in the US and you guys are entrepreneurs, or you're someplace else, I'd love to charge professional athletes $20,000 for a weekend of training. I'd love to charge people $20K for an off-season, week-long training camp or something. Really getting deep into the physical stuff, right? Really getting deep into it, saying I'm going to dedicate myself to helping your game, get you reset, not try to change who you are as a player, but give you stuff that's not going to get you injured, but also is going to push you mentally, that kind of stuff. And I would love to say, yeah, if you're an athlete, come on down, support me and my life's goals, with this $20,000 check to your boy Nathan, to your boy Duck. I'm very greedy, very selfish. Support Duck, support my future mansion or Lamborghini. And when you give me your $20,000, I'll give you $20,000 worth of training back, and I will help your season. And I will do nothing but that. Condemned Biden. Oh, get out of here, Trent. Come play football with me, dude. Come play football. We can go play kickball, football, basketball, soccer, whatever it is. Probably because people don't punch each other as often anymore. It usually makes people stop it. Goon thinks I'm blown right now. I don't think so. I think you guys are important enough. If you guys look at yourself in the mirror, you're the reason I wake up in the morning. It is that physics that's happening when you see yourself, that person, and the physics behind it is why I wake up in the morning. I'm not trying to be offensive, so no offense to you guys, but oh, get out of here. Get out of here. I said get out of here. Resigner. Trump's going to resign. Trump postured violence before he was in the office of the president. I will not have a violent man as my president. Trump should resign. Vance should resign. What is stopping you? There is nothing stopping you. Both of you can resign. I'm excited. I am excited to see you guys create some closed loops where open loops once existed. I am excited to see you detangle where previously tangling had occurred. And the best part about it is not one fucking iota of that has to do with US politics. It all has to do with you, asshole. I will not have a violent man as my president, and I have not for the last 12 months, and I will not for the next 36 months. So you can quit when you want. Y'all can quit. Hey, God bless Trump, but he's not the fucking president. He's not going to do anything in the office of the president that is presidential. He's a massive asshole, so. What are you talking about? He's holding a head of state hostage in New York City. He's threatened more than a dozen illegal wars. He is not violent. He's violated more than 10,000 people's civil rights. I'm just guessing. There's going to be statistics one day about how bad the ICE initiative was for law. Operation One More Day, right? Isn't that what the ICE operation is called? You guys think that stuff's funny? Operation One More Day. I don't think so. I don't think it's funny. Operation One More Day. Nope. Hey, Super Waffle. Thank you. That's the spirit. You're going to get that message. I tried to put it through. I think I should take the F word off my moderator list on Streamlabs. I think Streamlabs will delete your chat. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Rephrase, but the exact same thing. Yeah, I want free speech here. I also, because if my channel gets monetized one day, I should probably start watching my language a little bit. And it also helps us think differently, integrate our brain. So just give it a good sniff, see how it looks, see if it gleams, if it shines, if it's dull. And be yourself. Above all else, be yourself. Do what you normally do. And so if you guys get moderated by the chatbot, just say the same thing but differently. Or don't, whatever. Have fun, be yourself. I support and respect Donnie Trump. I respect Trump the person, but if you come to me and you say, I'm going to act as a president, no, you're not, resign. Duck, you don't talk very crass at all. Do I support Obama? So Obama ran on ending the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, which he ultimately did. It took him a long time. I don't know if some of that was because Obama was, as I think every young person, even being very humble, realizes as you have more experience that you could have been older and more experienced and done the same thing easier. So I don't know if Obama's age made it so that Afghanistan and Iraq were more dragged out than they needed to be. But I have no problem with Obamacare. I'm not a fan of extrajudicial killings. I believe that Democrats should have been harder on Obama for extrajudicial use of force in the Middle East. And they should have forced him to, I think, be more transparent and push that national conversation about the Middle East. And so I do support Obama. I would like to still see, I don't think that type of presidency is what we need in 2028, but I do support Obama. And it's probably always going to be like that. I think Obama is one of the people that, like I could imagine, and I'm not trying to aggrandize who Obama is as a person. I do think Obama has a little Satan in him. But despite that, I believe that Obama is someone that some other foreign heads of state would have seen him and been like, yeah, this guy's fine to work with. Like, I don't know. And that's crazy to say, right? That's crazy to say because, a foreign head of state they're not your adversary, but, they're pushing platforms and agendas and very large sort of motions that are probably against your interests. So they're probably not within your interests. They're probably difficult to understand. So I think understanding leaders like Obama and many people, even the ones I support, is a very time-intensive process. It takes time, and it's usually at least partially wrong. It's usually at least partially wrong or incomplete, as it always is. So, hey, Chris Molina, Palestine, Israel, anyone? Does anyone want to talk Palestine, Israel? If anyone in chat wants to drop an opinion, I know some people were asking about Iran earlier. Hey, what's up, Bob? Good to see you. Hey, have a shave, you hippie. Hey, I ain't no dirty hippie, yo. I ain't no dirty hippie. Let's see. F Israel. Okay, so we did have one message deleted by AutoMod, but if we were to take a poll, maybe we can launch a poll. I don't know if I can launch an ethical poll. Should we? I'm just going to assume people saying messages. So I support Israel. I support ICE. Israel. Israel's not a nation until 1948. Palestine, haha, you're American. I'm not American. I'm just kidding. I am. I was born in Ohio. I have family from the Midwest. So it affects me deeply when I see Minnesotans having to miss work, having to worry about their kids, because I know that they would probably either be getting Italian or Greek food otherwise. And people are getting shot, and their civil rights are being violated. Your rights are being violated, and you probably don't feel safe. Plus the Greek food, plus the za, plus the burgers, plus everything. All. Typical liberal auto-deleting messages you can't take. Good to see you. All right. Yeah. I think I had talked about this. You can try it. It's not going to, the mod's going to stop you if you say the F word. So if you want to try it, you can get the message back and stuff. So feel free. I don't know that I'm deleting anything. I don't know that I'm actually deleting anything, guys. Liberal hippie. Liberal is not a hippie. I mean, liberals, I think the biggest problem for an actual liberal, like in the sense that you support individual notions of rights and liberties, you believe policy is in regards to individual positive and negative liberties, both. The biggest challenge is that is completely psychopathic. It is absolutely insane to say that with respect to myself, someone commands the largest military on earth. And if I wasn't in the United States, with respect to myself, I will put something on a 1,000-ton, whatever it is, shipping boat. With respect to myself, I will launch a diesel engine the size of a fucking house for some reason. This is psychopathic. And so as a liberal, I don't see myself as a hippie, tall L liberal. If you want to know about my short L liberal leanings, As an atheist, I'd tell you go to church. You know what that means already, chat. Not that you need to know what my belief is or my opinions are, but if you're not living in a society with a social safety net, if you are stopping people from assembling and having discussions about what a welfare state is, if you are not including in that political discussion and that motion beliefs about taxation and other people's beliefs about representation on the national level, you're not being democratic. And so whichever camp you find yourself in, you at some point do have to stand up just this much, a little bit, for beliefs that you don't yourself endorse. Hell yeah. Yeah. You guys haven't met my evangelical altar persona. You can go to church if you want to. You should go to church probably if you find a church you like. As an atheist, I do not go to church. But what I do know about evangelical Christianity, find a church that you like. Go to church. As a former Catholic, if you like the tradition, find a Catholic church that seems to have that tradition that you like. There's no problem. No, volcanoes are sick though. I'm trying to talk to you, man. Reg. I'm trying to speak truth from the ether into the heart of every man. All right. Now I tell you what, blasphemers against democracy, let me tell you something here now, boy. All the blasphemers in chat, let me tell you this. I'd take your ass down, put you in a Chevy S10, drop your ass in a cornfield until you find your own way back home. Y'all don't know me like that, but I know you like that. All y'all say I'm a liberal hippie, never worked a day in my life. Well, let me see you get that little ass back from a cornfield back to your home. You be heating up taquitos, pho. Y'all be heating up sandwiches. Y'all ain't gonna give two damn shits about illegal immigrants by the time you get back home. Ever never been on the other side of the tracks, other side of the fence line? Ever seen where your food grown? No, not for you, boy. Too good for that, too royal. Let me see those two boots get to walking. All right. And you can imagine all these country boys, all the kind of boys, all the kind of girlies that went down Uncle Sam and say, "Send me down to Fort Bragg, sir. Send me down real nice. Let me see what I can do for a day or two." They know you go to the cornfield and they gonna say, "Drop and give my ass 10, 15. I need 10. You got some of these drill instructor folks. You got some of these track athletes. You got some of these racist bigots. They get so big, they do when they push-ups, they go, "That's number 10. And they face just don't get stuck like that. Them's the good kind. Your face getting stuck like that, boy? Go back to the cornfield, get to walking again. Mind your manners, gonna come back. Pancakes, potatoes, corn fritters, potatoes, taquitos, burritos, pho, ramen. Now all of a sudden, my name Juan. My name is Sissy. My name is Mimi, Nona, whatever it is. I don't give a damn. My name is Mary. All of a sudden, no black, white, man, woman, Korean, Christian, Jew, Muslim. You just got your ass back from the cornfield. Welcome to the academy, bitch. I love it. I love it, some straight talk. Doing a black voice? That's not a black voice. That's a track coach. That's not coded racism. That is a track coach. Take your ass and drop it in a cornfield and see if you can walk back home. That isn't racism as you're accusing me of. Your ass can do 10 push-ups at a CrossFit gym. Let me see if your ass can walk 10 miles and do 10 push-ups not at a CrossFit gym. Very fancy stuff. Let me see if y'all still care about Donald Trump after that. I don't think a single one of you would. I don't think one of you would. Like I said, I would see you guys coming out as Hindi, Sikh, Muslim. I'm Sunni, Shia, Sufi. I'm Christian, Protestant, Jehovah's Witness now. My Lord, oh my God, stay away from me. They got taquitos over on the Catholic side. Fish and chip Friday. I know how y'all work. I'm Japanese, turning Japanese now. Now I'm Chinese. Sino Indo-Eurasian. What's on the menu, sir? They make you go walk down to the cornfield? None of it. Comfort in our society. If you believe you are comfortable, I know some of you know about not being comfortable. Your priorities, what you think society is like. Fascist, racist, that is not racist. That you can't even tell you are racist. I believe in trans-identitarianism. Yeah, my ideology is that there is no reason that male, female, racial identity, which is maybe the stupidest form of identity, even cultural identity is very arbitrary. Even libertarians and Randian objectivists would say, well, this doesn't have to do with value maximization or value recognition or anything. It's like, that's a stupid argument, but we don't disagree. And never can be. I honestly don't know if YouTube has a friends like thing. Sounds like you are having a mental breakdown. Yeah, a little bit. Probably. You can see I'm losing all the hair on my head. You know, it's just funny, the people chanting about how happy they are Alex Preddy got shot, and the people who've been chanting for the last 12 months that they love illegal immigrants are calling me racist. I wouldn't have even thought of that. Thank you. I'm realizing stuff. Tell me a fave channel on YouTube that you watch. Yeah, so I go on Sarah the Raging Tomatoes channel sometime. She has a very if you guys are conservative, you might like it. It's a sort of very honest, cartoonish debate channel, but she has open panels. You can also watch from chats, but if you guys like doing Discord chats or going online, Sarah the Raging Tomato is a good one. I like Wick, and then I like history channels, just my own personal algorithm. I like some of the well-produced history documentaries. A lot of the bigger YouTube channels are like distributors, so they'll buy syndicated content and distribute it on their channel. And so that's always nice, because if you actually have like a production company, then it's usually a better quality. But yeah, I watch documentaries. I like PBS. PBS has a great YouTube, one of my favorite. Thanks, Goon. Wait, what happened? Wait, who got shot? Is that really true? He was releasing a statement. You're full of crap. Ilhan Omar got assaulted tonight. Let's see. She was sprayed with a chemical by an assailant. And so we do not have an update. Let's see if I can find a Reddit usually has, let's see, the Black Caucus is released this evening. So I'm hoping the Black Caucus has released a statement, and maybe this isn't definitive yet, but they don't mention the chemical. They don't mention that she was sprayed in this statement, as far as I can see. And so hopefully there's some insider information that she's okay, that Representative Ilhan Omar in Congress of Minneapolis and Minnesota, she is okay, hopefully. Hopefully that this is good information from the Congressional Black Caucus, or it implies good information. And so, yeah, we're back to Angeluna. Oh, this is a Turkish website. A Turkish website is reporting on Ilhan Omar. All right. You guys ready to close out? I'm going to close out. Thank you guys, everyone who liked the stream. Thanks, everyone. I hope you had fun in chat. Hopefully I entertained or did something that was whatever my job was supposed to be about this stuff. I hope you guys had fun too. You guys are kind of funny, kind of racist, and it's cool. And so I'm on my mission my main mission is, as a millennial, to ensure that Donald Trump quits the office of president. He resigns. JD Vance also resigns. There's no reason for you to not quit. And so, yeah. And yeah, you guys, I'm going to insist here. How about, yeah, we will handle it this way. I'm going to insist, because we disagree politically, that I do believe I'm more conservative than you guys, even though I vote blue, progressive Democrat, and I will for a long time. And so I am Mr. Old School Duck. Nathan's my real name. I go by DucksY Online. Like, subscribe. I am going to bother the hell out of your shorts if you guys subscribe. I'm doing anywhere between 1 and 3 shorts a day right now. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of your evenings or mornings. Take care.